Greyman is supported by Patreon. Donate now and receive special early access.
Hello there everybody and welcome back to Greyman Plays. I really hope you're enjoying the video, otherwise I'm going to have to kill you.
I gotta stop doing weird voices during these videos. So I know what I said, about collecting the beat pieces, and I know what I said about the sub-weapons. But there is one part that I want to demonstrate. Whoop. Oh god, that's like when you... bunch of the little hard hats. It's like when you step on a spider and it just, like, excretes like a bunch of other spiders. It's like, oh god, I somehow made this even worse! It's coming up in a little bit. But... so I'm already not a fan of beat. I think beat is kind of just like a game breaker. Doesn't really make the game a lot of fun. But also collecting his pieces is a little bit of bullshit. And I'm not talking like the falling pits or some of the other areas. I'm talking about the fact... wait, is it this part? Yeah. There's... you have to shoot that wall, and then you have to go in here to get this. There is literally... no indicator that you were supposed to do that. There's no other part in the game where you have to shoot out a wall. And it's just lame. And it goes back to a thing I've talked about in previous videos, where there's nothing wrong with having a secret or having to figure out something in a game, but the caveat is that you have to have the answer for how to do it in the game. You need to have a hint, or you need to... if it's an RPG, you can have, like, an NPC tell you how to do it, like, something like that. It has to be in the game. And there's nothing in Mega Man, in this game or any of the other games, where it goes like, shoot that wall and you'll get the thing. Like, you literally just have to get a strategy guide or something like that to figure out how to do it. It sucks. And I've also talked about this. That was, like, a really... big problem with, like, this era of gaming, where you had so many solutions to puzzles or something like that, where you would need an external source in order to figure it out. And I don't know, maybe that was just kind of like a pre-internet thing, because you just had to, like, you know, like, you only had so many resources for gaming in the 80s and 90s. Like, you basically had magazines, strategy guides, and your friends. Like, all stuff where you basically had to, like, either pay or talk to people in order to figure out solutions. Or you just had fucking hotlines for stuff where they just, like, you know, charged to your phone bill just, like, exorbitant fees. And I only called the Nintendo tip line once, and it's for something rather shameful. It's because I couldn't figure out... screw it, I've got a ton of lives. It's because I couldn't figure out how to do something in Castlevania Legacy of Darkness, the N64 game, which, like, I will totally cop to the fact I'm a huge Castlevania fan, and, like, the N64 games are, like, some of the worst in the franchise. So not only did I call the tip line, yeah, you got something useful, useless, thanks, Eddie. So not only did I call the tip line for something I couldn't figure out, but I called it for a game that sucks. I just didn't know what to do. I had to figure out the thing. I never asked myself whether it was worth figuring out, or whether that game was even worth playing. It wasn't. It is so funny thinking about, like, 3D Castlevania games. Because I think, like, at this point, they've, or at least, well, not Capcom, but Igarashi, because he has, you know, he has, Bloodstain coming out this year, which I want to play on the show. I don't know, it's supposed to come out in 2019, I don't know when the exact date is supposed to be, but I do want to play the full release of Bloodstain on the show. I might even play, Curse of the Moon on here because I still haven't beaten Nightmare Mode. But we'll get to that. But like, they've just embraced the fact that the Castlevania style of gameplay works best in 2D. And so they're just rolling with, like, you know, the Symphony of the Night gameplay. And it's just so depressing looking back at all the attempts that Capcom had, like, trying to make a big AAA 3D, like, Mega Man game, and they just, like, completely and utterly failed at every step of the way. Even, like, Legacy of, no, not Legacy, even... God, what was it? It just, like, completely fell out of my brain. It's, Oh, Lords of Shadow, that's what I was trying to... yeah, for some reason the name just, like, escaped me. But, yeah, even Lords of Shadow, where they, like, hired these famous voice actors, and they got, like, Hideo Kojima, and they did all this other stuff, and it just, like, just did not take off. Like, people were just not into it. The one that really offended me, and it wasn't even the two mainline, Lords of Shadow games. It was the DS title. Like, that was... Not only did that have some of the worst design and some of the worst gameplay in Castlevania, but it also had, like, some of the most pants-on-head stupid story. Like, just trying to tie in, you know, Dracula and the Belmonts and Alucard and all these other things. It just did not work. And if nothing else, that's why I'm glad that we have the Netflix anime right now. Like, the Netflix anime is legit incredible. Like, they got great voice actors, they got, you know, great writing. Just, the thing that I've said about the Castlevania anime is that it feels like my middle school fanfics brought to life, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. Like, you kind of want something big and you know, before you had more media for your video games, like, you kind of wanted something, you know, big and epic in your head to kind of, you know, match these games that you enjoyed so much, and the Castlevania anime kind of gave it. It was better than I could have imagined. And one thing that really stunned me is that they wrote and portrayed all the female characters incredibly well. Like, Sypha is a really great character. Like, Carmella's a really good character. Like, even Lisa, for, like, the very brief amount of time that we get to see her, like, all of them are good. And the thing is that, like, you know, like, Castlevania has just traditionally been, like, a very fan service heavy series. Like, if you look at a bunch of the designs for, you know, the female characters and the monsters, like, so I wouldn't have been surprised if the anime had done that, especially since it had so much violence. You know, where there's violence, there's sex, right? But there's, like, none in the traditional sense. I was really, really surprised. And not to say I dislike sex appeal, but I kind of... Whoa, I can't believe I got that. It's just that it kind of has, like, a 180 where sex appeal, like, it can very easily go in the other direction where it becomes unappealing and kind of, like, just kind of distracting. Like, it actually kind of turns you off because of, I've got so many lives, it's ridiculous. Like, one thing I've kind of talked about a lot with people is kind of the anime Ikitosen, which has, like, a redonkulous amount of panty shots. And the thing is, when you get an anime that goes out of its way to give you panty shots, like, often, like, defying the laws of physics so you can show off the main character's panties, like, it becomes really distracting because just, like, you just have panties being shoved in your face the entire time. So you're not aroused or just kind of, like, you know, interested. You're just kind of going like, why the hell is her skirt blowing up like that? Like, it wouldn't be doing that in this scenario. I thought there would be some extra challenge doing a Buster run, but I've almost beaten all of the Robot Masters, like, just doing normal gameplay. I think that's another thing that people complain about with Mega Man 5 is that it's the easiest of the original 6. And yeah, I will agree with that. That's kind of a hard thing to disagree with. You know what? Let's take care of Charge Man and we'll call this an episode. Charge Man has to be one of the worst robot masters in the entire franchise because he's an annoying boss fight. Because he takes up so much room because his hitbox is so big. And it also doesn't help that he gives you one of the most worthless weapons in the game. Like, if you thought the top spin was bad, like somehow they managed to top themselves with the charge kick. It is kind of interesting getting into Capcom's head around this time because the Super Nintendo had come out around the time of they were about to release Mega Man 4. And they were already kind of starting to develop the Mega Man X series. So I feel like the classic Mega Man kind of became a secondary concern for them. Like, they still made a good game, but they're just kind of like, whatever. And I heard this rumor. I'll have to see if I can verify it. But there's some rumor that they copied some of the level layouts in this game for Mega Man 6. And I don't know if that's true. That's something I was looking up and I haven't had a chance to verify it. But basically, you know, everything that's in here, like, you know, they have to place like this, you know, object or this object right here, but ultimately it's just a platform for you to jump on. So, like, Mega Man 6 might just straight up feature some reskinned levels. Let's see. Oh. I'm in the middle of the 3rd episode and I haven't used this yet. Hey Rush, hey buddy, you want to play the Rift of Vital Signs to help me get up there? Thanks, Rush. Actually, wait, let me kill this guy first. That was another thing they changed. So the Rush Coil just, like, propels you up normally, but this one, you have to stay on it and then you have to jump off, which is, like, I don't know, it's just, like, a little bit more annoying to use. I don't know if I'm a fan of that either. That has to be, That's kind of a distressing thing. It's just like they didn't add anything new versus the previous games, and the stuff that they changed ended up being for the worst. It's like the last Airbender movie. God, it's been almost a decade since the last Airbender movie came out, and I still find fresh things about it that piss me off. Like, it's kind of incredible. It's just the anger that I've had has just kind of stayed with me. Because I felt like that should have been the easiest layup in terms of making into a movie. Like, and they just found fresh ways to fuck it up. And I will never forget this. I went to go see it. I went to go see it with a friend who had never seen anything related to the Avatar franchise. I was a huge fan. But she had never seen anything related to it. And so, we both hated the movie, but for completely different reasons. Like, I hated it as a fan of Avatar. She hated it as just like a general moviegoer. And I remember we're driving back, and it was just like a very grim ride home. And she just kind of asks me, like, when the Earthbenders were captured by the Fire Nation, why didn't they just summon fucking golems out of the ground and, like, just smash them or do more interesting earthbending moves? And I just very despondently look at her and I go, and they pretty much do that in the original show. And she's like, so the show's probably way better. I'm like, it is. That's a real sad note to end on. But I'm going to end this episode here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll head on to the Proto Man Castle.